Okay, this is John McEntee here from the Rock Fantasy Files, and I have Brad Parris here. We're going to be talking about his new podcast, Low End Warriors. Just want to thank all you guys for checking this out, and hit subscribe to the channel and all that fun stuff. Check out also the Rock Fantasy, website to pick up all your medals. Releases. You could do pre-orders on stuff, whatever. Just go there, support the true mom and pop record stores, if you can. It's a good thing for the metal scene to help keep true metal supporters afloat, especially in these sucky ass crazy times. Anyway, but yeah, we have Brad here, and he has a new podcast that he's working on, Low End Warriors. And I guess the easiest thing to do is tell us about it. Tell us all we need to know about this.
Sure, yeah. So I had the idea a couple of months ago. I really started getting into podcasts. I had a long commute to work every day, so I started listening to podcasts, and the more podcasts I started listening to, I was like, wait a minute, there's a bunch for metal, there's a bunch for guitar players. There's really not one focus on the bass.
Yeah, the bass so that's always really gets shut down.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I told my dad about the idea, and he was like, "Yeah, that sounds lame," but joking, of course. So I was like, okay, so there's not a podcast for bass players. Nobody's doing it, so it seems like a good niche to get into, right?
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts too, just in general, because I just, I hate almost everything in life. Like I hate just like the news. I hate all this crazy political stuff. There's so much diversity and just like such insanity in the world that it's just so nice to just pick something you care about, like, music or, instrument or just whatever you like, and just listen to that instead of listening to all this crazy, BS. Because if you watch TV, especially news or something, it's all doom and gloom. Everybody hates everything, and everyone's gonna die about everything, and it's like, it's so nice. I know for myself, it's been so nice just to kind of get into the whole podcast thing and just, like I said, listen to stuff that you want to hear about and stuff that's positive towards, what you want to do, or you learn stuff from, so it's super cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. And also, it's a good way to chat with friends, make new friends.
Yes.
And like you said, like the most important thing is to learn new things. And I remember maybe like 10 years ago, I was watching a documentary and Kerry King was on it, and he was talking about the news, and he was like, you turn on the news, you never hear anything good. It's always just bad, 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 because that's what sells. And I mean, it's, it's even more apparent now. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, they if something's good going on, it doesn't get the ratings that they want. So it's
exactly.
like, try to like, ingrain in your brain that everything sucks, and it does well for them, because it's all about money making. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to music and stuff like that, to me it's a great thing, because it's something that brings people together and is enjoyable. It's not, you could tell pretty much the world to piss off and just indulge in music and stuff. And I know for myself, doing this Fantasy Files, I've been helping out the record store with. It's been super cool because I get to chat with friends and just just have a good time and take my mind off things, which is really great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man.
So as far as the podcast, I mean, when are you planning on starting it, or did you already kind of start working on it?
Yeah, I've already started working on it. Last week I made the announcement of,
yes,
I have a podcast, and it kind of came out randomly because I've had the artwork for it for about a month now, and I've been, just debating on when should I put it out or whatever. And like last week, I think I was looking through my old phone because I got a new one, and I saw the picture and I went, oh shit, I forgot that I had this. I might as well go ahead and announce it. So that really kickstarted kick me in the ass to go ahead to go do this. Go ahead. Like I've had the idea forever. I might as well just go ahead and do it. So yeah, so I've started. I've recorded kind of the first episode. So it's going to be an interview type podcast like this.
Yeah.
Talking to friends and heroes, hopefully.
Yeah, of
um,
course.
so yeah, so I recorded the first one as just an intro to let everybody know what the podcast is all about, of course. So which should I'm planning on airing it in hopefully a couple of weeks from now.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, definitely, get me all the info I need for it so we could post it with this interview here so people know how to, contact you for the podcast and stuff like that. Because it is a good idea to have a bass player podcast. Because, yeah, I don't think I've seen many of them. And, you know, obviously there's a lot of killer bass players out there. So it'd be great to have that kind of community going on for sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, anything else about the podcast that we need to bring up, or I'm missing, or anything? I don't want to.
I don't think so. Like I said, I just haven't seen one, and if there is one, and I've heard a couple of I can't remember the names, but I've heard a couple of podcasts that had bass players on there that were the big name guys. Nothing's
Yeah.
focused on the extreme metal guys because nobody thinks that it takes any talent. People outside of extreme metal are like, oh, what the hell are they doing? But
Yeah, of course.
so it'd be nice to shed some light to people who may not have any knowledge on how fucking hard this is to play.
Yeah, well, I
uh,
mean, you play
you
in
know.
Nile, so I mean, holy crap, your bass lines are no joke.
Yeah, man. So
you know,
so yeah, it'll be good to shed some light on the geniuses of our genre.
yeah, no, it's good and it's true. A lot of bass players end up getting overlooked, but I mean, especially bass players that are really, on the more technical side. I mean, it's really tough to play bass that technical. I mean,
Yeah, no.
it's way easier for a guitar player to play those kind of riffs, but when a bass player, just with the thicker strings it just has a different reaction to it, and it's tough to do it and not make it sound noisy and stuff. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. And it is tough too, because I know bass players also struggle with trying to find the right sound that fits with everything. Because when you're
Oh my
especially when you're
god.
playing more technical stuff, but I mean, you have it with any kind of extreme music. Sometimes it's hard to find where the bass fits in 100% because you have everything competing for where the bass should be.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially if you're in a band with two guitars that are just distorted out the ass too. You have to find well, how the hell is somebody gonna hear what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. It's the ultimate search for tone.
Yeah, it's really really difficult, but it's like in my opinion, if the bass is like done properly and really mixed well into it, it really brings out a lot. Cause I mean, I'm a big fan of
Yeah.
being able to hear the bass in the recording and and having, hearing the bass player kind of maybe do a couple off things and like, maybe harmonizing with the guitars in certain ways. I like that kind of aspect. I mean, of course, sometimes it's good just to follow the guitars too throughout the whole thing. But
Yeah, yeah, of
I do like
course.
the more, I do like it when I hear cool little different things with the bass doing in the background.
Of course, yeah. And we had that kind of idea with the Nile record. It wasn't the last Nile record, Vile Not a Lot of Grites. We didn't sit down and say, okay, well, let's do something completely different than what everybody else has done. My background is more rock and roll,
Uh huh.
so I started with more of the classic rock bands, and like you said, the more busy bass players that are back there, like doing bass lines
Yeah.
over a guitar player maybe played a chord.
Yeah. A lot of those
So
rock guitar bass players
yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
kind of
So
bounce
so
around.
whenever we recorded the record, if you listen close and you can actually hear or actually you can hear the bass on that record, and that was another conscious decision that we made on the album.
Yeah.
You can hear some of the like rock and roll bass lines underneath, some brutal ass guitar playing.
That's awesome though. It's really really cool. I know I love that kind of stuff. I love hearing different bass lines under it, and it's not always easy to do or make it fit, doing something that contrasts a little bit with the guitar because you do have to kind of like do your own little thing, but also make sure that it kind of fits in with what's going on too.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as people think, it's not just going do 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 do
Right. Right. Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
how long have you been jamming with Nile for now?
Actually, I think this month will be 6 years with the
Oh
guys.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So
6 years in the band. Um, and I've known Carl for 8 years now, I want to say.
okay.
Um, yeah, this is my 6th year in the band. It's still crazy to think about.
Yeah, time flies for sure. So you started off just as bass originally, right? Because I've seen
uh,
because I mean you do bass and vocals now, but you used to just do bass if I remember correctly.
oh yeah, in the
Because I
band,
remember,
yeah, yeah. It was. Yeah, I started out kind of doing a little bit of background vocals, and
yeah, yeah,
um, it was kind of a thrown to the wolves kind of thing. Just like me being, in the center doing vocals now. It was like, oh, you want this gig where you got to do some vocals too, which is good. I
yeah,
mean, it's
of
always
course.
a good thing to know more than one thing to do. But yeah, initially, it was mostly just Carl and Dallas uh, doing the vocals in the live shows,
Yeah.
and me just doing the bass. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, that's cool. Because I remember seeing you guys. I can't remember. It was in Pittsburgh. It must have been over 3 or 4 years ago, or I can't remember now. But I remember you were just on bass or whatever. So I guess
yeah.
that's good though. I mean, if you went from bass and recruited to be the frontman bass player, I mean, that's like I guess you're doing your job well. So that's good, and it's evident on on a new album. I mean, it definitely sounds killer. It doesn't sound like you guys you didn't change much as far as the aggression, the technicality and brutality,
Sure.
and everything to me sounds like a killer Nile record, which is I think what Nile fans want.
Of course, yeah, 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 yeah. Thanks. There was definitely a lot of skepticism from people saying,
Yeah,
can they do this? Can they pull
it
this
always
off?
happens. Yeah,
Yeah, of course it does. And I mean, even to this day, the record's been out for over a year now, and to this
yeah.
day, we still hear people say, I was kind of putting it off forever, and I finally got around to listening to it. And yeah, I guess you guys can do the job.
Well, yeah. I mean, I mean, there's no doubt that when you have major lineup changes in a band, that people are going to be skeptical. Say, yeah, I mean, basically, you just got to go out and prove yourself. But I mean, I've seen you live on one of the one of the last shows probably I've seen before um, the whole pandemic stuff started, and I, you know, unfortunately, I got there late, so I didn't get to see you play, but
Yeah,
heard
I
that was good.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I got there and like you guys are like loading out, and I'm like, I just got here. I was like, I didn't even think the show started.
Right.
That was a bummer.
Yeah.
I took the hour and a half trip down to Charlotte,
Yeah,
and I was just like,
Jesus.
everyone's leaving. I was like,
Yeah.
hopefully it's not because the band's so bad with the new vocalist.
Oh my god. It is
I'm just
funny that you
joking.
say that's one of the last shows you saw before this, because I think the last show I saw before this was you guys on the Morbid Angel Montaigne tour.
Ah, cool, awesome. Yeah, that was a fun tour too. Holy crap, that was a
I'm
great one.
sure, yeah. I
Yeah.
remember that night because I ran into you, and like the normal thing to do is, oh hey, like let's grab a beer or something. But it was your birthday, so it was, hey, how you doing? You want some birthday cake?
Yeah, it just happened to work out that my birthday was in Charlotte. It was super cool because I moved to Greensboro, North Carolina, so it was like local, kind of local for my birthday show,
Yeah, yeah, right.
So it was fun, and of course the uh, guys in the band kind of embarrassed me by saying something on stage about it.
Right.
but it was the Watain guys that kind of put him up to it. Because Watain guys was telling Luke, our bass player on that tour, it's like, it's John's 50th birthday. What are you gonna do for it? And Luke's like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, you gotta say something.
Yeah.
I kind of put in a bug in their ear. So it's basically Watain, like, you know, g- gave him the balls to do it.
Right. Right. The most evil birthday greeting ever.
Yeah. So it was fun, but so yeah, I guess getting to Nile as far as like what's going on in a camp. Obviously, you put on an album and you really can't do much touring for it at the moment. So I mean, have you been working on new material, or do you have any other interesting plans?
We have. Whenever we put out the record, we did a European tour with Hate Eternal and
Awesome.
Vitriol, and
Yeah.
then we immediately, like fucking 2 weeks after that, did the American tour with Terrorizer. Um,
Yes.
and then that's the last show he played. I think the last show he played was December 14th, and it was a hometown show, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, since then, I have my side project. It's called Xael, Xael.
Okay.
It's like symphonic death metal, I guess you would say,
Okay.
like along the lines of like a Flesh God Apocalypse or Septic Flesh, something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
we actually released our debut album Friday, last Friday,
Oh,
Thursday,
really? Oh,
something
wow. I
like
didn't
that.
even know.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, we
Cool.
did. So I was doing that. Carl is working on his solo album, which I think he's finished with. Actually, yeah, he is finished with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure when that's coming out yet.
Okay.
Brian has a side project called Imperishable. It's black and death metal.
Okay. Cool.
He's released a song. I'm not really sure how much he's going to be doing with it. Probably doing an album.
Yeah.
Um, George has like 20 projects going on, like
Yeah.
always.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what we've been doing. We're
So you
and
kind of have time to work on your own projects, pretty much.
yeah, totally. And I mean, we've still been working on Nile material, but just not as much right now. But I'm sure we'll be hitting it hard now that like all of our other projects are finished and
Yeah. But
we
it's
have
good
time to
though.
focus on the Nile one.
It's good though. I mean, especially if you have interest in doing other kinds of stuff too. It's good to get that outlet of doing different things, to express yourself in different ways, and then kind of go back to Nile clean, or just
Sure,
like
yeah,
fresh
yeah,
and
yeah,
ready to kill it that way.
absolutely, yeah,
That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the interviews we do, we like to just kind of talk to people about their kind of metal history and stuff like that. I mean, for myself, I'm just a big fan of old school metal, and I just kind of I grew up with in the 80s, the whole tape trading thing and stuff like that. So I'm always really interested on
yeah,
other people's kind of journey on how they kind of got to where they're at now. I mean, because obviously it's a great a great honor for you to be in a band like Nile, a band that's, yeah, I mean, really one of the top death metal bands out there these days. So, um, it has to be a pretty, pretty interesting journey for you to go from, maybe what the stuff you're doing before into, yeah, an amazing, amazing popular band throughout the world.
right. Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned that you grew up in the '80s. You got to see like death metal come along, and that's so cool. I always feel like I was born at the wrong time. Um,
Yeah, it's just like the luck of the draw. It's just, I
yeah,
mean, I,
absolutely.
I always, I mean, obviously it sucks because I'm older now, but it's really cool because I really got to experience metal from, a really early stage up until, obviously now. So it's a
Right.
really interesting journey for sure. It's definitely
Yeah,
cool
yeah,
to
yeah.
get that. I, I I feel very fortunate because I have the firsthand knowledge of hearing these different versions of aggressive music start from almost infancy, so sometimes I have a different view or opinion than somebody of a later generation, because I think it's different when you hear stuff when it first comes out and you never heard nothing like that before, and then somebody of your generation where the stuff is everything was pretty much already out there.
Yeah,
So it's a different way of it's like the opposite side. You're like might be looking back on metal where I was kind of looking forward on metal.
sure, yeah. And I mean, it's the same thing of being in a band with Carl and George. I mean, you
Yeah,
know, Carl saw the same thing. Like, he got to see like Metallica with Cliff Burton.
yeah, me too.
That's so fucking cool. Yeah, like it's always interesting to hear his stories of hearing extreme metal for the first time. And George too. George came up at the same time extreme metal was first coming around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool.
But for you, what was your journey like?
um well, if we go to the very beginning, it was Rush. Like Rush got me into music, and that's still
Okay,
my
cool.
favorite band to this day.
Yeah, Rush is great.
Yeah. So whenever I was in high school, and I maybe a senior or a junior in high school,
Hmm.
I had this compilation CD from Metal Hammer, and there was Obituary was on it. There was a Lamb of God song, a Devil Driver song, and so that was really my first introduction. I can't. I bought the magazine because of somebody on the cover specifically, but I can't remember why now. But anyways,
Yeah.
I listened to the CD and I was like, "Whoa, what the fuck is this?" Well, these guys sound pissed off.
Yeah.
So from there, I had another friend. I had a friend in high school who was into extreme stuff, and he was like, "Check this shit out." And he gave me a copy of Kill from Cannibal Corpse,
Okay.
and I heard that, and I went, "What the fuck is this?" So that was my first introduction to it. The first band I did when I was in high school, we were called Red Herring, and we were more Mastodon, kind
Okay.
of like a Mastodon type band, but
Yeah.
a bit more heavy. Um, and then there was a couple of bands that came in after that were just pretty straightforward metal. There was a doom band, and then one night, the last I think it was the last band I was in. We were playing a show, and I went to Guitar Center here in Greenville to buy a instrument cable, I think. Anyways, I ran into Carl. That's the very first time I ever met him in my life. And at that point, I was a huge Nile fan. So meeting him, I was kind of a fanboy. Like I know I was so awkward to him, and he was so nice to me.
Yeah. That's cool.
And I stayed in touch with him, and I did a guitar lesson with him, and then
Oh,
I pretty much bugged him for them to take me on tour with him. I was like, please God, I just want to do something. So, so he said, okay, fine. And took me on the 2014 US Canada tour as the light guy and merch person, pretty much, doing whatever they needed.
yeah.
Um, and then a few months later, that's when they asked me if I wanted to audition for the band.
Oh, awesome. Wow. So you went kind of from the roadie to the band. That happens a lot. I, now that I think about it, and we never did this, but yeah, like you get your roadie is like your prospect for who you might want in the band, and then if you could tour with them and get along with them when that spot opens, you can get in. 'Cause I mean,
Yeah.
that's what Obituary did, with their guitar player. He was a guitar roadie for him, and he got at the guitar gig.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So,
Cool.
and a lot of bands actually do that. I mean, even when James Hetfield like got caught on fire or something like that, like the guitar
Yeah.
roadie took over the spot. So I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
right.
if you really want to be in the band, be the roadie
Yeah,
first,
absolutely. And you
and don't
said
be a dick.
something that's oh my God. I was about to say I swear to God, that's probably 80 or 90% of the gig is if you're a cool person to get along with, you're probably gonna get it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, just complain all the time on tour.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, anybody that's like looking for a replacement member or a new member for the band, if they take you out on tour and you're complaining all the time, you're probably not going to get the gig,
Right.
because it's like, it, yeah, because it's like nothing worse than being around people that are just always bummed out and complaining, And it always blows
Yeah.
my mind, because it's like, if you really like playing music and touring, and this is what you want to do your whole life, and you get the opportunity to do it, then you do it and you complain the whole time. It's kind of like, you know, you know, you could be home doing nothing,
Yeah, right.
and it's like even if things aren't like always the best, it's like, for me at least, when I'm on the road touring, it's like, even if things aren't going the best for whatever reason, I'm still like, well, I'm still on tour and I'm playing metal. It's like life could be so
Exactly.
much
Yeah.
worse.
Oh my God, I know, man. And I tell people all the time, if you've never been on tour before, you'll find out really fucking fast immediately if you like it or not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's tough, but no, that's really cool. So you were a guitar player before playing bass?
Yeah, primarily for years. And I had dabbled with bass a little bit, not much, but we were talking about bass lines earlier. The first band I was in, that's what really caught my attention with bass because our bass player was so good. Um, and hearing him record on an album and seeing him play these bass lines over what we were doing with guitars, I was like, oh wow, that's really interesting because like we said earlier, a lot of people view the bass player as like, oh, he's just this extra guy.
Yeah.
But once you actually experience somebody who knows what they're doing, and it's really cool. So that's what really grabbed my attention with it at first, and then of course, like, um, the guy's asking me, so do you want this gig? That really jump started the journey for sure. But once I started playing, I realized, like, wow, this is so much more fun than I was expecting it to be. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
haven't really even played guitar much since I started playing bass with a band. I play guitar now to write music, basically.
Yeah. I yeah, it's kind of funny because I know for myself, I originally wanted to play bass, but I didn't know enough about music or anything, that I couldn't find a freaking bass teacher. So I was like, well, I
Yeah.
guess I'll just learn guitar.
Right.
I didn't know nothing about nothing. I just knew I wanted to play music. I thought playing bass would be cool. I was a fan of like Gene Simmons of Kiss, and what's Steve Harris, and just
Yeah,
some
yeah,
of
of
the
course.
bass players of the it was really around like the late 70s, early 80s kind of bass players were kind of my influence, and I wanted to really wanted to do that, but I ended up just taking guitar lessons, and before you know it, I'm just a guitar player in the band. But I always think about it, I'm like, fuck, because now it's like I really, and since I switched to doing vocals, I'm like, I would so much rather play
Yeah.
bass, because it's like it's just it's, to me, it's more of a pain in the ass to play guitar and do vocals. It would be so much easier to play bass and do vocals. Not that playing bass is so much easier, but it's just something where i I the intricacies, even though it's harder in general to play the bass, I think for doing vocals, at least it just seems to go together a little bit better for me than playing the guitar. Especially if I have to do a lot of the lead work or something like that. It's just like it's a real pain in the ass. It's like I'd really rather just focus on performing well as far as a vocalist than have to worry about the intricacies of a guitar necessarily. But
Oh God, yeah. I mean, even during our shows, like I'll catch myself watching Carl or Brian, and they're playing the like 16th notes, like really hammered away and singing on top of it. I can just think like, damn, that looks hard.
yeah, exactly. So, but it's definitely cool. Uh, Going back to, you said you're big influenced by Rush. What do you have like a favorite era of Rush, or are you pretty easygoing when it comes to Rush most material? I'm just curious where you come from with that.
Yeah, I'm pretty easy going with it. Like a lot of people don't like the mid '80s synthesizer Rush. I love that shit too. My
Yeah.
favorite era for sure is the Hemispheres, Farewell to King era.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. I love all of it. Yeah, back when uh I guess like you could tell that they just spent all their time together as a band in the same room together for hours and hours a day hammering out these songs. It's really cool. It's really inspirational because nobody does that anymore.
Yeah.
Everybody records their ideas on a computer, sends it out to each other, and then they edit it uh
Yeah.
as a
I know what
band
you're
that way.
saying. Yeah, it's actually it's a real shame because I mean, for me, it's so much better to get together as a band. I mean, we actually made a point of, um, for the next album that we're doing with Incantation, that we were going to get together more as a band, at even if it was going to, take more time away from whatever. We just wanted to get that band feeling back together, because it's so easy to, everyone lives further apart now. It's so easy to just, come up with ideas and send files back and forth. And we still send the basic ideas, but we really
Right.
wanted to like jam each song out and really refine it at practice, because I mean, for us at least, when you get it all together as a band, that's when the best ideas come out and like the tempos change the stuff. And like, to me, it livens things up more because in this the current environment of music, with everything being so so digital, that you sometimes lose just some of the feeling, because you could easily just say, okay, this is the song, we're clicking it out here, and you just play to it or whatever, and that's what it
Yeah.
is. But it's sometimes for me, it's nice to just go to band practice and just say, fuck the click, fuck everything. Let's just jam out the songs like we're at a show and just want to kill every poser in sight, and just
Right.
and then try to like record it that way on album. So okay, it might not be everything might not be tight as nails, say, as far as drums might have little slightly different tempos and different parts, but when you listen to it as a whole, it just feels like you feel that like piss off kind of attitude, it's like,
Yeah,
or whatever.
absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah. I can only think of this example right now, but Goat Horde did one or two analog albums. And you're right, you can tell like it's not perfect, but it's not supposed to be perfect. Like,
Yeah.
um, when I listen to music, I want to hear the human element. I don't want it to
Yeah.
sound like a computer recorded everything.
Yeah.
um,
I understand it's difficult for massively technical bands to go that route. I know it's a lot easier to to click things out for that. It's easier for bands like, say, us and Goat Whore, which I don't know, I consider more earthy type bands. I don't know,
sure,
or
yeah.
whatever. So it works better for bands like us. But it would be really difficult because even when we do some of our more complex parts and we don't have click tracks and stuff like that, I remember being in the studio being like, how do I fit that riff there now? It doesn't fit
Right.
properly because the drums were just slightly different than but it still works out and it's cool.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Um, I guess go with some plugs for the new album you were saying that you just finished or whatever, just so people can kind of get the info and check that out.
Sure, yeah. It's Xael, like I said, it's Xael.
Okay.
And like I said, we released the record. It's bad that I can't even think of which day that we released it on. I think it was last Thursday or Friday that we released it. But anyways, the album's called Bloodtide Rising. It's sci-fi metal pretty much. So
Okay.
there's like a whole story that goes with it. And our drummer Josh, he came up with the story. So he could sit here and tell
I
you the story,
understand.
and it would take
Yeah.
like 2 hours. Anyways, so yeah, that just came out. We have a video on YouTube for our single.
Did someone release it or is it a self-release?
It's Pavement Records.
Okay.
Yeah, Pavement Records released it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can. It's on all the major, Spotify, Apple Music. It's on all of those platforms.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that, and of course the podcast.
Yeah. Okay.
The first episode will be released in a couple of weeks. I haven't decided or set a date yet. on it, but because it just announced that, hey, I have a podcast.
Yeah, I hear you. One thing I forgot to bring up that I wanted to bring up was, is there any just like crazy or fun kind of stories you can kind of tell me from, some of the touring you do at Nile? 'Cause I know you guys have been, you tour like crazy, and there has to be some insanity somewhere that people get a kick out of hearing.
Oh God. I get asked that all the time, and we're not really a party band
Yeah.
so much. So there's not really a lot of insanity that happens. There have been a few drunken nights that you know we as a band know about, but nobody else ever will.
Yeah,
um,
what
is that
about,
but
even if it's like earlier bands or something like that crazy happened? Because I mean, I know like when we with we toured with Nile back in like 98, I think it was 99. It was right when they were just starting out. They were opening for us for some shows, and we were playing a show in Huntington, West Virginia. I don't know if we ever told you the story, but we were basically going to drive up there to Columbus. I don't remember if the show was in Columbus or we were just going to drive to Columbus because the next show might have been in Cleveland or something. And we're going to stay at Kyle's house to sleep, because that's where Kyle was living at the time, or his mom was there. I think actually he wasn't living there. But anyway, so Kyle was like, okay, I'll drive. I could drive. They're in a camper at the time. So Kyle jumped in the driver's seat for the camper and just said, okay, I'll drive you to my place since I know. But Kyle was totally wasted. It's a bad thing, but Kyle was a hardcore partier back then. So he was driving it. And he was like, all like, where? In this like really old rickety camper. And now, and all the guys, that was back when they had Chief and Pete and
yeah,
Dallas and stuff, and a bunch of like local dudes were roadieing for him. It was a
right.
really fun kind of family, but yeah, they were all just like freaking out because you could feel the they said they could feel the camper like waving side to side while he's driving and turning around, and Carl was getting so pissed, like telling Kyle, it's like pull over, and Kyle's always like, it's okay, don't worry about it, and then he ended up stopping for gas, and Kyle gets out to fill up the gas tank, and Carl jumps right in the front seat immediately. I'm driving.
Wow, I've never heard that story. That's great.
Yeah, and Kyle's like,
Oh
what
God.
the fuck, dude? What the
Yeah.
fuck? And Carl's like, no, I'm driving. And
Wow.
probably
Yeah. That's
everyone probably was like a sigh of relief.
that's
Yeah,
pretty good.
yeah.
Yeah.
You got to
I,
ask Carl about some of the stories with us back in the day, because
oh man.
it was absolutely insane. I mean, we did some hardcore touring at a time when death metal wasn't so popular, but we had such
Sure.
such fun times. Though it was really really fun.
Oh, I actually heard an Incantation story from him one time about I guess it was Milwaukee Death Fest
Hmm.
when two versions of Incantation were playing at the same time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was that was a show in New York, I think it was. Yeah, Disciples of Mockery, which was some of the ex-members of like the Onward to Golgotha lineup got together, and they did. It was the only time they ever played Incan songs, and they played a set before we even got to the club. So it was like really awkward. We played our set, and our set, it was a disaster because we had like technical problems. So it was like
Oh
we
shit.
couldn't even get through the set properly. So we couldn't even, it was like we just totally got shut down. It was one of those nights where it was just
Oh
like
my god.
wah wah wah.
Right.
It happens though. And
Oh god, that's
it was,
great.
yeah, it was like the promoter of the show, he loved controversy, so he would just like, he every time we'd play for him, he would do something to try to build up controversy. Like he was playing off the drama between myself and some of the ex-members, trying to fuel a fire for his own benefit for the show.
Oh
And then
wow, yeah.
and I remember we were having troubles at Relapse sometime in the 80s, I mean the 90s too. And when we played their show, he promoted as disgruntled Relapse recording artist Incantation on the flyer.
Oh my god.
and Relapse seen that and we're so pissed. And I was like, what the hell are you doing? You always have to be an asshole, don't you? Like, find some way to be a dick about it, But he was just doing it for the publicity. I mean, the sad thing about it is that there's a lot of people out there that will use band drama for their own personal benefit. And
Oh my god, yeah.
I've seen that
Yeah.
so many times, and it's really a lame ass thing to do because especially if a band has a breakup and maybe the band members are trying to reconcile or just try to live with the fact that okay, things are different now, and then you have these other people just like egging them on, to try to get people pissed off at
Yeah.
each other. I learned pretty early that you just at least for me, I don't listen to that crap. I'm just like, I totally just like whatever, if you want, people want to be a dick and try to fan the flames, and they could try, but for me, I'm not going to let it like agitate me or piss off. I just got to stay focused on my own personal goals. But it's
Right. That's
you know
good.
yeah, but unfortunately, it's sad that people do that. Because a lot of times, even if you don't say you don't get along with someone in the band or the band parts ways or with some people, it doesn't automatically mean that you have to hate each other, because there's always, you could always, you may not be in that situation of a band, and the dynamic can change and you could actually be friends sometimes, so but people love love to start the drama,
Oh
for them
yeah.
it's just a
God, yeah,
blast.
no. Yeah.
It's just fun.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
you ask about a story. I can't think of anything in particular. I can think of like I'm sure that something great has happened that I'm just not remembering right now.
Yeah, I understand. Put you on the
Yeah,
spot.
yeah. But all the good ones come from, just hanging out with people who I call friends now.
Yeah.
It's a great thing. And there's little things that happen on the road. Um, a lot of mishaps, a lot of the things that weren't planned
Yeah,
that
of
happened.
course.
Those are always great. I love this is kind of a short story, but
Mhm.
we were on a flight in Australia one time, and George is a huge coffee drinker, and George is also known in the band as being the guy who spills coffee on literally everything.
Is that
Oh God, yeah. If he has a cup of coffee in his hand, he's gonna spill it on something. So I was sitting next to him on a flight in Australia, and we were joking about it. We were like, "George, you spill coffee on everything," and like 5 minutes later, he's drinking coffee, he spills it right in my lap. So if you're
Yeah,
ever around George, watch it
be
if he
careful,
has
be
a cup of
careful.
coffee.
Yeah. Does George drink those frappies that they make over there with the little spinner thing and kind of stir up it's like kind of like a,
Yeah, it's like a Turkish coffee, I think.
yeah, something like that. But I know they drink it a lot in Greece. I don't know if it's a different version or how they do. I mean, I know how they do it because I first time I went to Greece, or no, I think it wasn't even that. The first we toured with Rotting Christ, and they were drinking frappies, and they had this little like stir, kind of automatic stir, and they just put the it's like kind of like they take the instant coffee and put it in the bottom of the thing, and they kind of
Yeah,
put a little
yeah,
bit of water and just stir it up, and it like foams up. It almost turns into like
yeah,
a not a frappuccino, but like not a latte, something like, I don't know, something like that, some
yeah, yeah. I
coffee.
know what you mean. Our tour manager, Alexi, he's Greece too. He's
Yeah.
Greek too, and he lives near George, and they're good friends. Our sound guy, tour manager, and he makes it all the time on tour. And I'm not exactly how they not. I'm not exactly sure how they make it because I've seen him do it many times. I'm like, what the
Yeah.
hell is that? And it's so good.
Yeah, I think it
It's
tastes
so
it
good.
tastes good, but people have told me that it's really not healthy to drink. I don't know why, but maybe it's just because it's like condensed coffee, and it's like I
Right.
used to I mean, I used to be a total coffee junkie, but I totally had to stop because it's like I was getting to the point where I wasn't able to sleep at night because my body was so amped up from drinking coffee. But it was just like
Right.
on the road, especially, it was just like coffee. I would be drinking coffee all the freaking time, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, but anyway, that's cool. Well, thank you very much for the interview. I totally appreciate it. Um, just want to thank you for being on there. Totally cool, and also just check out. We have a bunch of interviews and like panel things on Rock Fantasy, so check that out. Like and subscribe and all that other BS. For the Rock Fantasy stuff, and support metal. Pick up his new band. What's the new band called again? I'm sorry.
Oh, it's fine. It's called Xael.
Xael. Yeah, Xael.
Yes.
Check out Xael. Obviously, check out Nile. And yeah, just have a good time and fucking metal. And thank you again. I appreciate it, Brad. It's totally cool to have you on. All the best, with everything, with the podcast, with the bands. Hopefully we get out on the road and be great one day. Hopefully we get the tour by your guys' side sometimes. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, totally cool. Thank you very much.